Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of Purple Hyacinth with Bundin and Fwoot.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, and you've both been on, so I guess you don't have to introduce yourselves anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, so this episode is called Somber Silhouette and starts out with the moon casting its shadow over the city of Ardhalis. And it's a very nice landscape. It looks like it's, in this picture, at least, on an island, so with the sea surrounding it. And it's got like some fortifications and towers and interesting architecture. So looks really nice. And then we see Lauren running through the streets. And we have the word assassins with blood splattered behind it. And you see somebody's bloody hand gripping a gun on the floor. And it says, "For a decade, they terrorized Ardhalis city." And you see this very ominous looking hand with nails. And no one had ever seen their leader. Terrorists, and you have a whole bunch of people with this masked, cloaked person with just their eyes peering out. Thieves, killers. So, it's like all these people implying that you never know who it is. It could be anybody. These are people from all levels of society in this picture. And for me, I feel the implication is like you just don't know who to trust. Which is true.
Yeah.
And then you see this image of a man lying on the ground, bloody. There's a dagger stuck in his neck, a crowd around him, shocked. So you get this impression that this is just, people terrorizing the city, and it's arbitrary. You don't know what's going to happen. And this is just, something that everyone's frightened of. All united. We called them. And then you have more images of blood and kind of these upside down, eerie, smiley faces. We called them the Phantom Scythe. And that's also, everything's in a red, it's shadowy. It looks like there's some devil's horns at the end also. So that's the introduction. And that night, and then you have this symbol.
It's the symbol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that night they claimed another victim, and that's the introduction. So y'all want to talk about the symbol?
Yeah, like we went from what we talked about in the prologue, because that was the episode that I was last on. This symbol with the hooded figure with the scythe going around, that was in the bottom of that picture with like the guy who was like strung up on that stake.
Mm-hmm.
And I only noticed it when we were going through it for the podcast. So I thought that was really cool how it was even planted from before I even saw it or noticed it. And it just makes me think that there's a lot of things that are planted even in the beginning of the story that will come to light later, especially when the whole thing is said and done and we go back to reread it and see what we missed. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how that is going to look after the whole series is done.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's as we get farther into the story, we start to pick up on more things that were hinted at in earlier episodes, and that's just the reread value of season 1 and probably season 2 as well. Once we get season 3, is just astounding. And this scene also really does add so much more to the world building, as it's Lauren's narration most likely, and we get better views of the world, like with the castle shot, and we see more of its architecture and just how it has been operating for the past decade. And that really just helps immerse the reader into the world.
Yep. So, and now we have Purple Hyacinth episode 2, and we are on White River Street, and there's again this old-fashioned car over there, and you see Lauren there with 2 other people that, if we remember, I'm pretty sure they were in the prologue as well, though we didn't really get to know them. And she says, "Kym, Will, you were called in as backups too, and we're introduced Officer Lauren Sinclair, Patrol Unit 11th Precinct, Ardhalis Police Department." And then the blonde dude says, "Hey, Lauren, yeah, we must all live close to the crime scene." She says, "I think they would know. now that I know, I'm just saying, I think they know that already. But anyway, and that's Lieutenant William Hawks. He is also on the patrol unit, 11th precinct. And then I can't believe they called this in on our day off. We see our blue-haired lady with a little wink already showing us her personality. And that is Sergeant Kym Liddell. And so Lieutenant, just go back to see their titles. Officer, Lieutenant, and Sergeant. And, and Kim's complaining, and for a simple homicide, just because it happens to be in our precinct. And Will says nobody in the area nobody knows the area better than we do, which is nice to know that they are experts in that area. If the culprit is still somewhere around here, we have the best chances of finding him. And she's like, I know, shut up, Lieutenant. So right from the start, you see they had a slightly contentious relationship, which doesn't strike you as genuinely contentious, but it's like this bantering, fake fighting.
Gotta love the banter between Kym and Will. You also get the sense that, she's the more playful, goofy one. He's the more serious one. So obviously they clash there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So he says, I was only told that there was, Lauren says, I was only told there was a murder and that the culprit escaped. Will says the guys are on night duty, are all busy with armed robbery on the other side of town. Detective March is supposed to join us for backup soon. And then there's a clack, and this woman rushes out of the door. She says, help, please. I don't know what happened. The lady, and she's panicking. And Will, in his exemplary professionalism, says, Miss, please try to stay calm. You're safe now. You did the right thing, calling us right away. Can you tell us what happened? Where's Mrs. Grayson? And I really like this. He's completely professional. He is attending to her emotional needs and validating her and making her feel good, while then immediately trying to get information about the crime and, something, relevant for right now for what he needs to do. So Will is highly capable. So that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
He's definitely, like you said, a lot more professional than Kym is, who is rolling her eyes at a homicide.
All right.
Yeah.
And this woman is crying, and she says, I was having trouble sleeping. And we see a picture of her in bed. But then I heard sounds coming from Lady Grayson's room, and we hear bam. She hears a bam. She takes her candle and she's walking down the hallway, and she says, I wanted to make sure everything was all right. But then I saw the blood, so much blood, and she's stammering. And a limp hand sticking out of the door frame. And here we see the limp hand, and it's covered in blood. And then we see her stricken face, so her horrified face, and she runs away. And she tells him, I ran away. I was so scared. And then it's the murder. Lauren says our backup has arrived, and we see Lieutenant Hawks. What's going on here? That's Detective Oliver March. He is also from the 11th precinct. And Will says, Detective March, good to see you. We were called in about the murder of Lady Grayson. We're just about to search the house, but then they hear a bang. And Kym says, a gunshot across the street. And Will says, shit. So
I love that transition, because when you're reading the episode, you have the music, and before it's just the kind of just normal music playing in the background. Then or I can't even remember if there is music, or I think it's silent actually. So you're reading that, you have no music, and then you hit, literally as you get to the bang, you hear a gunshot, and then this super intense music starts to play, and it really does get you in the headspace of like, oh, something's happening, and you begin to get caught up in everything, and it just immerses you more into the plot. And I think it's just a really great use of the music that Sufism puts into the comic for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's awesome.
I love the sequence where we see the maid finding the dead body, because like you can really sort of feel the horror of it, and you don't even see Lady Grayson's face. It's just her hand, and that is terrifying, and you really feel what the maid is feeling in this scene.
Something you kind of realize as well when you're reading this is that, okay, Lauren's also listening to this, and none of the text is in red, so 100% that this lady is telling the truth, that someone just broke in, killed this lady, and left. So I like, especially again, like reread value, that, you know, she's not involved, because maybe when you now start the story, you don't know to like look out for when characters lie as much. But yeah, it's just very useful to see.
Right, that's funny. Like when you reread it, you're right. I didn't think about it, but now we like I don't read mysteries a lot, so I don't like naturally suspect people. But now knowing for Hyacinth, I would start suspecting everybody. So it's good to know that she was saying the truth. So Will, again being professional, shoves the woman inside and he says, "Miss, get inside and stay away from any windows." Again, like just protecting people. Good guy. And then he immediately takes action. He says, "Detective March, please protect the witnesses," which is, again, something that apparently is a concern. And he says, "Lauren, Kym, with me." And they reach for their guns and they rush across the street. Very actiony, very intense. And they hear another bang. And then Lauren sees this whiz on the rooftops. Now, I think it's very, very funny that they're portrayed as whizzes because it's like a little inhumanely fast, but it's funny. And she says, "Over there, someone escaped through the windows." And she rushes after him. Whereas, Will's like, "Lauren, wait, damn it. Kym, follow me. They might still be alive in there." So he's heading back to the building while Lauren is running after the suspect. And it's actually a few people running after the suspect, but Lauren seems to be the only one who actually catches up with him. And, she follows him on the roof. She's still running. The other police officers, she left them far behind, and she decides to climb onto the roof as well. So she climbs up on the roof, and then she becomes a blur as well. So I get the impression that Lauren is much faster of a runner than the other police officers. Yeah, so now she's actually made it to the same roof. And she's like, shit, he actually is fast. And we get a glimpse of this guy. He's, we can already tell he has his hair in a bun.
The man bun.
Right? I've actually persuaded my husband to finally grow his hair, and he can now make a man bun. I'm so happy.
God, my boyfriend used to have a man bun, except it was just because he was stuck offshore for like months, and like it got too long, and he sent me a picture yesterday. It was like, "You look like a pirate."
Nice. So my husband is like not at all, let's just say he's very conservative with his hairstyle normally.
Clean cut.
He's not into like, he's like an old man in that respect. He's like, I don't want to do these stupid dumb hairstyles for like, he thinks like men who care about their hair, they're like, I don't know, effeminate or something, so, but I love long hair. So I begged him. We've been married for 11 years. So it's been 11 years of begging to get to this point. So, but anyway, I hope he appreciates that I stare at it every single day and admire it. So maybe that's a good motivator.
Yeah, you just need to show him how much you like it, and then he'll keep it around longer.
I really hope. Anyway, so this guy has a man bun too. And he's wearing an overcoat and gloves. And he actually sees some blood on him as well. And he's shooting ahead. Lauren's running after him. It's kind of also comedic, this whole like bouncing off the rooftop things. It's just funny. And she's gaining on him. She's almost there. He jumps on one roof, and then Lauren does the same thing, which even when I first read it, to me showed a parallelism between them, because we'll see throughout the story, I think, a lot of parallels between the two. And this one, the fact that nobody has been able to catch him, and Lauren's been the only one, because she also has this fast running speed and rooftop familiarity. So this like scene where they both jump over the roof in the same way, to me was just like a little bit of foreshadowing.
Yeah, no, they're both very similar. They're more similar than they give each other credit for. And maybe it's because they're so similar that they end up in doing what they do for the rest of the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, you have to give props to Lauren. She is just becoming Spider-Man in this scene. She's like incredibly fit, like, be jumping across these rooftops.
Mm-hmm.
She does parkour.
Yeah.
And
they both go to the same parkour gym and they don't know.
Forget cafe. It's been the gym all along.
And okay, meanwhile, we go back to Will and Kym. Will bangs the door open. He says, "Let's go." They go in the house, the gunshots came from upstairs. Let's go upstairs. They're upstairs. And we go back to Lauren and the guy. And it seems that he's standing on the edge of the roof. Looks like he's taking a minute to look. We get a bit of another glimpse of him. His eyes are shadowed, but we see his bun again and his messy hair. He's wearing like a scarf or a cravat. Very elegant looking, I have to say.
Popped collar.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Yeah, an edged overcoat. And he's taking a moment, right? I don't know if it's like the roof is ending or whatever, and Lauren is a little bit shocked. You see her eyes widen behind her mask, and he smiles, he smirks, that typical smirk we'll come to expect. And in a very dramatic show, he can't just like jump off in a normal fashion. He extends his arm backwards, kind of reminds me of the Titanic, and then like falls forward. So dramatic, such a drama king. So not surprised that he did this.
He's a little shit and we love him.
So funny. And Lauren's hand is reaching out to catch him, which is nice. But then Lauren, like, if you think I'll let you slip through my fingers, that ain't happening. And she, she furrows her eyebrows in determination, and she jumps off in a much more normal fashion, by the way.
She doesn't have that dramatic flair.
She's not as extravagant.
Yeah, she's a little more pragmatic. And we go back to the house. William and Kym are in a room. There's this bloody corpse on the bottom, a little bit blurred out. Eyes are staring vacantly. And, Will says, "Sir, are you all right?" And then he's like, "Shit, he's dead," which we see as soon as we see the body with his, frozen stare. And Kym is like, "Oh no, surely he's just sleeping." She like leans against Will. And she's like, "Can't you see he's trying to charm you with how drop dead gorgeous he is?" So she is a little bit of an irreverent young lady. And I don't know how much violence she sees in general, but this is definitely, like, a lot of people have a macabre sense of humor, and for some people it's a coping mechanism for dealing with what they have to see. It's possible that this is something that she does to protect her feelings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Make everybody else feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Also
kind of like the mood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Will is shaded, so it looks like he does not really appreciate it. And he's like, "Shut up, Kym, it's not a joke. This murder looks like," and then she says, "Lieutenant." And Will has this more of a shocked face, and they go closer and they see Will says it was him, and then he says he was here. Because we see this tiny little outline of a purple hyacinth near his hand.
The faintest bit of a petal, which was obscured by a speech bubble in the first panel. And also that perspective in that scene, amazing.
Oh, the blur, how it's more blurry as it's further back, and then it just comes into more focus as you go down.
Yeah.
Good perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the "he was here," you can really see the panic in Will's eyes, especially with the panel and the black lines around that panel. And then Kym, she's panicked. And like just a moment ago, she was, all fun and games, but now she looks genuinely terrified.
I think that's really smart on the part of how they made this scene, because they showed her joking and stuff before, even for a murder. But then once you realize that this murder is different, whoever committed this crime is different, seeing Kym's reaction to it just kind of drills it in to just how much of a big deal it is and how much danger is around and how serious the situation is, which I think is really smart.
Yeah, it's quite brilliant, actually. Just, they don't even say who this person is, like who killed this person. And then we just see Will and Kym terrified. And then we see that Lauren is chasing this person. And suddenly the stakes have just like tripled. And now we're scared for Lauren. And she doesn't realize who this person is. And yeah, it was a brilliant move on Soph and F's part and how they depicted it and how they wrote it.
Yeah, it's kind of like the screenwriting. It's called, I can't remember the screenwriting thing. It's called Chekhov's gun, which I think it's this guy Chekhov, but I think Hitchcock used it a lot as well. Basically, in order to build suspense, you can't just put a bomb in a room and say that the bomb is in the room and it's gonna go off, like have everybody know it. No, only you know, but nobody else in the room knows, and you just know when it's gonna go off. And seeing everybody act normally in the room and not knowing the bomb is there, but you know that as the audience that it's there, really builds the suspense. So that is, yeah, like Fwoot said, that is how you build suspense in a scene.
Nice. Yeah, so Lauren is chasing after him. It looks like they're by some sort of outdoor cafe because the person, it's again in the show of dramatics, instead of just running in that space that is literally right there, he chooses to vault over some cafe picnic table. It's funny. Like he'll slow himself down just to be dramatic, which is hilarious. Or just show off.
It's like he's taunting her. It's like, I can do all this and still be in front of you.
Yeah. He's definitely teasing her because he knows she's there, and he does realize that, like, he probably does realize that he is kind of under threat, like if she does catch up to him, but he's just so sure of himself that she won't.
We love a confident man.
Yes, and now back to Kym. Lauren, she's screaming, Lauren, I have to stop her. She'll get killed, right? So we see again how serious a threat this is, that even Kym is upset. And we go back to Lauren and the dude, and she's like, ha, dead end, which also is funny. Like it's a juxtaposition between killed and dead end. So yeah, he's at a dead end. He stopped, and she's like, I've got you now. But of course, he tries to climb up, and she tries to climb up the roof. And then they start engaging in a physical scuffle. She launches herself up on top of him somehow, which is, again,
it's the parkour gym.
Yeah, superpowers. And he starts falling down. But while he's falling down, he grabs her ankle. Oh my gosh, this is very entertaining. I found this all very funny to watch, like their scuffle. And she, scrapes herself on something on the building. And her whole sleeve is ripped till she falls down. He's pulling her down. He's falling. It's very dramatic.
So something else you notice as well is that while she's falling, her gun flies out of its holster.
Oh no.
Yeah, so it's like she doesn't have her weapon now.
He still has his sword.
Yeah, his sword is still in its sheath. So
something I adore is that when you see Kym get more scared, and then as Kym and Will get more scared, Lauren gets more confident, which raises the stakes even more.
And you're like, no, girl, get out of there.
Yeah. But Lauren's, there's nothing stopping her at this point. She's gonna get him.
Yeah, so Lauren is she's a determined person. She's brave, and she is, upset at murderers. She wants to stop them. So they slam down on the floor, and like you said, Lauren's pistol is, on the ground, not with her. He's down on the floor, and Lauren gets up first. That's nice. But he's up pretty fast as well. She does this kind of kick towards him. He jumps up. It's really funny. And she punches him in the face. I think she does get him, but then he takes the arm. It's just a nice sequence. He takes the arm and starts twisting her around. Starts to punch her. Looks like he pushes her against the wall. Okay. And she realizes, she's like, oh crap, I dropped my gun earlier. He'll kill me at this rate. But then she screams, moves away from the wall, does this, and then he kicks her, and he kicks her mask off. And again, his leg is incredibly extended. Just he can do a split basically. And her mask flies off, and he starts to take his sword out. And then we have some narration. It says, on that night, and there's this beautiful swoop of light, you could have killed me. And then we zoom in on Lauren's face. It's an intense look. It's a little bit of a, I wouldn't necessarily call frightened, but I would say very filled with adrenaline.
Yeah.
Because, and she does kind of like, no, okay, like he's taking his sword. And it says, but you hesitated. And we have this look of him also. It seems as though they're frozen in time and they've stopped. And now, you know, their faces are bathed with light. It's really beautiful. And his eyes are also wide open, and then they stopped.
It's the first time we see his face properly. We haven't seen his eyes yet. We haven't really seen what he looks like up until this point. So I think this is, again, a good reveal. And that he looks so beautiful and magical.
Yeah,
So.
just saying. Yep, he's got gorgeous blue eyes. I'm a sucker for blue eyes. Anywho. And she says, and I didn't know why. And then you have this, again, this still image of them staring into each other's eyes. It's a little bit of a pre-romance moment, in my opinion.
No, when I read this, I was like, yes, that's it. That's the ship. That's all I need. I'm on board.
Yeah. And he's got his sword at her throat.
Yeah.
But which I didn't even notice the first couple.
You know, if you scroll up right above, like on that night you could have killed me, when he's pulling out that sword, that swoosh of light is him swinging his sword. Yikes. So this man is in the middle of swinging his sword at her, but then you get this, like, he sees her face, he sees her eyes, and then, but you hesitated. And so this man literally was mid like death swing and then stopped just at her neck where it's just a little cut. It's like, biggest question I have about like him as a character, other than some of the stuff we learned, but the main one I have is, why did he hesitate?
Yeah. Okay. Let's finish this up and then let's talk about that. So there's only a few panels left, and you know, it's just them staring at each other. It's intense. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. And she says, I didn't know why. And if only I did. And then you get, you know, you go back to the man who was murdered and now you see the full image of the purple hyacinth bathed in blood. So you know that like this man has no compunctions about killing people. Everything would have been different. And that's that. And well, I guess we could also talk about the authors have, instead of their heads, they put two other people there, which we'll find later.
Because apparently the one on the left, we won't spoil who that is, he apparently in the original Discover version of Purple Hyacinth, he was the one who was murdered.
Oh yes. I did read that there. And you see some blood on his head still.
Yeah.
And what's their author's note here? Yeah, we forgot to say it once. What's their author's note is, you know, this is a start of a great love story when they literally fell so hard for each other. Yeah, so I don't know why they hesitated, because we find out later that they met at a cafe first, right? That he saw her at the cafe. So you could say maybe he recognized her as that woman. But I know in the first version, they apparently didn't have that cafe scene.
Nope, I don't think so.
Oh wait, did that not happen yet? Sorry, I have a hard time keeping track.
No, that did happen. Yeah, that's episode 1. Yeah. Okay. This is episode 2, so yeah. One thing I also love about this is before that, from the bang of the gun about a third of the way through up to right before her internal monologue about him hesitating, is that intense music, which also adds to that suspense that we were talking about earlier. But then when it gets to this, it becomes this beautiful piano theme, which the names of it are at the bottom. I don't remember all the names. It's called, the first song was called Fateful Encounter, and the second one is From the Start. So it's like,
aww. Love from the start, for sure.
Or heartbreak or drama, probably all.
Love, okay? We had this discussion with Fwoot before, and she mentioned the possibility of certain people's demise at the end. I'm like, not happening, okay? Nah.
I refuse, you know, nothing.
I'll rewrite the ending myself if I have to, and make myself forget the other one.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm back now. I had to move locations because it was getting a bit loud inside.
But yeah, what do you think, Fwoot?
I feel like there's definitely a bit more to Kieran like or crap, to the assassin. You might need to cut that out.
We
There's
keep
I don't
definitely,
cut
saying it.
anything out. No patience.
oh well. There's definitely a lot more to the assassin hesitating on killing her than just the cafe scene. It's some people thought that he recognized her from somewhere else, though it doesn't seem like she recognizes him, as like she doesn't know him at all. And it's such a beautiful sequence with the transition between the panels with the sword, and just it's breathtaking, especially that first like good shot that we get of his face. He looks amazing.
Looks so good. Like, I know we've talked about this before, but they went hard on his design, and I appreciate that greatly. The jawline, the eyes, the hair, the height, everything, the mannerisms, just like, wow. F knows what we want.
And only if she did know why he hesitated, everything would have been different. What would have been different?
Why?
What would have been different?
What's gonna happen?
Why?
We're like 85 episodes in, and we have some theories now about like why he hesitated, none of which we have any proof for. So, and we still don't know.
That's the thing. I think they put this hair, they point this out, they have this whole thing because this is going to be like one of the big things that we learn in the story, which means we're probably not going to learn what it is
to like the last episode.
Like, no, I feel like it's either going to be something in season 2 finale or somewhere in season 3. It's going to take so long.
It's because it's set up so early. I feel like it may be a conversation between the two at the very end, because hopefully by the very end they trust each other and enough to like talk about this thing. And Lauren's like, "Why did you hesitate that night?" And he just explains why. And I feel like it doesn't have to be something complicated. It could just be something like really simple, like Kieran just, oh crap, not again. He just didn't want to kill her for whatever reason.
Love at first sight.
The theories, we can't get into it because spoilers, but this isn't really a spoiler, but I know one theory, and this doesn't include anything that we learned. She's like, people are like, oh, what if she's saying this at like his grave or something? I'm like, no, shut up, no. Not true. I refuse.
I mean, turn my phone off.
Why? Oh, you're good.
Sorry.
Like, why must you hurt me in this way? Picture the gif. You know the gif, the one I always send of little Ron Weasley from Potter Puppet Pals. Why must you hurt me in this way? That's just me every week whenever something happens to him or anything.
I mean, I won't complain if it is that. If she is talking to his grave at the end, because it does seem like she is telling the story to someone, like at the beginning of the narration, like in the prologue, it does seem like she's talking to someone, and I'm like, so what if it is Kieran's grave? Or some people think that like they might part ways at a train station, or just part ways after all of this. So
yeah,
with these tragic endings. No.
And as we see, this is not spoilers, but we talked about parallels, and interesting because we see similar narrations go on later as well, and it's just like, what do you mean, sir? What are you talking about? What is going on?
I mean, they shouldn't be dependent on one another, and maybe by the end of the story, it's like, I'm personally not a fan of them splitting up, but I do think that it is possible that they will go their own separate ways.
I don't know. I don't pretend to understand how F's brain works when she comes up with these plots. Like, she keeps coming up with stuff that surprises us, and only a few people know how this story ends, including like I think one of her teachers in school.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
sent she like wrote some story, right? That was for the end. That was like the end of PH, and it was for some class.
I think it's an English class or something, but yeah, it's just like, but it's also nice to know that they know how it ends, because nothing is worse than when you see someone start a story and it goes really well, but you can just tell as you get more into it, or if it's like a series, be it like movies, books, whatever, that they have no clue where it's going. Think
Yeah, that's
like Star Wars. That
Oh,
was
Bundin.
blatant.
Bundin, I think you and I are thinking of the same animated TV show right now.
We got done dirty by Voltron, man. What do you want me to say? We got done dirty. But yeah, no, it's just very unfortunate. So I'm glad that they have a vision for it goes. Not that people always need that. Some storytellers are really good at coming up with an ending with their own like stuff, or like adding things that you knew weren't planned but work well anyways. So, but just knowing that they know how it ends just makes me feel like, okay, they know exactly how it's going, where it's planned, it's meticulous, all the stuff that we even have in these first episodes that give us so many hints that we don't know yet because we don't know. But you know, it makes me feel at ease with where the plot's going, at least. And even if I'm hurt, I hope I'm at least satisfied with the story. But that being said, I don't want him to die. I don't want him to. He's my baby. No.
Yeah,
he needs to be protected.
Not pro tragic endings anymore.
Yeah, that's why I'm excited to see how PH ends, even though I don't want it to, because it's been such a magical ride so far. But Soph and F have said that it will likely be 3 seasons, maybe 4, maybe 5, however long it takes for them to tell the story. And like Bundin said, that brings me to ease, because I know they're not going to drag it out. They're going to take as long as they need, and they're going to end it when it is right to end.
Yeah. Well, do we have anything else to say on this particular episode?
The ship is sailing and I'm on board for life.
Yeah.
There's no getting off this thing, whether or not it's like a cruise ship, a stormy ship, the Titanic. I don't care. I'm ride or die.
Bundin,
yes.
He did the bare minimum of not killing her, and you're already like, let's board the ship.
More
I've got the
dramatic and worse things, man.
I mean, not killing someone is like the bare minimum.
No.
Well, actually, do you guys read In the Bleak Midwinter?
Yes.
So,
yes, I do.
I'm personally pro Yvonne because I like Yvonne. But yeah, like he killed Omega, kills her, and like, no, it's Omega, right? Kills
Omega, yeah.
Kills her in like the first time he sees her. So it can happen even when you kill someone.
Yo, I mean, the bar is on the floor. Like, it's just and people are still failing it.
You know, we love our webtoon protagonists that kill or attack their the person that they're shipped with. That being said, I do agree with you, because Yvonne is so good. Like, he's just but beside that, it's the enemies to lovers, man. I've read too much fan fiction. Enemies to lovers. I made a whole presentation about the fanfic tropes and enemies to lovers. It's that good. And it's not like the typical enemies to lovers. And it's just super engaging and complex. And you have to kind of let it do its thing. You can't rush enemies to lovers. It's the slow burn. It's the slow burn.
Very, very slow here. Yes.
Snail's pace, but I don't care. It's gonna be worth it.
So I think I want to end the recording here, but I do want to chat with you guys for afterwards. So
yeah,
do you have anything else to say before we end this episode?
Nope. Look forward to doing more.
Yeah.